Hey everyone, DeVante Chisholm here with Jake Decker, who got the chance to get hands-on with The Witcher 3 Complete Edition on PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. Jake, how was it?
Well, first of all, I love The Witcher, and this Complete Edition seems to deliver. It looks stunning. It's hard to believe that this game is 7 years old and it still looks this good. Obviously, CD Projekt Red has done a ton to lift it up a little, improve some of the rougher edges, but for the most part, it looks like had I not played The Witcher so recently, I'd say it looks like I remember it. But if you really sit there and compare the two, it seems like a very impressive upgrade that is technically free. I mean, you still need to own the game, but if you already own it, it's going to get patched right in.
Yeah, which is so exciting. And you're right. For me, even opening the game earlier today, it's like I look at it and I'm like, you look so good. How can you possibly look better? But right? You're over here telling me it can, so that's very exciting.
It feels like it holds its own with current gen PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X games. I will say the combat feels very much of its time, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it sounds bad to say, but it doesn't feel as Dark Souls inspired as many modern third-person action games do.
Okay.
But that's not necessarily a bad thing. But visually, it looks amazing.
Can you talk about the two modes since you were playing on console? Mm-hmm. I know that there's your typical performance and quality mode. Did you get a chance to play with both of them?
Yeah, I bounced between the two quite a bit on both PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. So there is a performance mode, which high frame rates, I think it's targeting 60 on just about everything, although it supports variable refresh rate TVs. So if you have one of those TVs, it looks even smoother. And then there's also a ray tracing mode. Now, the ray trace lighting is subtle. I'd keep that in mind, and it runs at I believe 30 frames per second. So it doesn't run quite as smooth, but the lighting looks a little better, particularly when you look at backgrounds, when you look at how lighting bounces off walls, when you look at torches, it looks a little more natural. I'd still say it's pretty subtle. I mean, some areas I really had to flip between the two to notice the difference. So for me personally, I think I would lean to performance mode just because the lighting already looks really good. I kind of just want it to run at its best.
Yeah, that's kind of what I figured I was going to do. Personally, in pretty much every game, I always pick performance mode. Mm-hmm. I just, I need those frames. But with the ray tracing and stuff, am I going to want to turn that on for the game's new photo mode?
Yes, actually, I was going to mention that. So that's when I would usually turn it on. When I was getting ready to take photos, I would switch to ray tracing mode, press in both the thumbsticks, and then it automatically goes to the photo mode. Now,
nice.
I will say the photo mode isn't quite as robust as you've seen in contemporary games that have photo modes. When I was talking to the folks at CD Projekt Red, they were saying that this game was not built for photo mode. So they kind of had to do some delicate maneuvers in order to get it working. And personally, I don't really mind. Some things missing is you can't change Geralt's pose. You can't change his facial expression. You can't change time of day. At least in the build I played, I didn't see that, which is a bit of a bummer. But honestly, I think the real draw to photo mode is just that the game looks absolutely stunning. I mean, when I was taking notes, I would just go to photo mode, raise the camera up super high over vistas, and just leave it there, listen to the music while I was taking notes, writing, and then hop back in. Unfortunately, I couldn't take any of the photos with me that I took, but I imagine people are going to take some incredible photos because, like I said, the game looks amazing.
The way you're describing it right now is just, it feels like a studying with Geralt. You're just putting on some music and vibing out to the rest of the game. But okay, photo mode, but there's also new camera modes. Mm-hmm. So talk to me a little bit about the new type of angles we can get on Geralt.
Yeah, so for exploration, combat, and horseback, there's an alternate camera that you can turn on. You can even customize it too. So you can say you want the alternate camera for combat and exploration, but you want the default camera for horseback riding. And as you switch between those different actions, the camera will adjust. I mostly played with the new camera angle, believe it or not. I thought it was really cool, particularly for exploration and combat, because it pushes in quite a bit. So it feels more over the shouldery. Obviously, it's not that close, but you feel much closer to Geralt, closer to the action, closer to the environments. So for me, I actually preferred that. I think maybe horseback riding, I could see why someone wouldn't want to use the closer camera, just so you can get a better view of your environment.
Yeah.
But I think if you've played The Witcher, multiple times, it might be worth checking out those new camera modes, because especially for exploration, it is it's cool seeing the world through that vision, through that view.
I was thinking I would kind of stay wide for the combat, then maybe getting close for exploration, and maybe wide again but the fact that you can just mix and match and experiment with them seems awesome. I like the level of, customization they're giving to such a, old game, not to like downplay the game or anything, because it's still fantastic. And what about the new signs? Well, not the new signs, but, don't have to slow down time, bring up the radio menu anymore. So how did that feel?
Yeah, so the way it works, I believe you hold R2 or right trigger, depending on what you're playing on. And then from there, all of the face buttons correspond to different signs, as well as, I think, L1 or left bumper. So basically mid-combat, you can basically hold down right trigger and then just press a face button and you'll use that sign. It was a bit weird to get used to for me. I think it's just because I have played so much of the original and I'm so used to pulling up that radio menu, picking the sign and using it. It's also weird because I don't really know the signs by name or necessarily. I know them by symbol because I'm so used to going in that radio menu. It's like, oh, purple, Idrin, that's how I'm going to deal with specters. But I think once I get time with it and get the hang of it, I think that'll be a much better way to use signs and even like make more of a dedicated magic sign build.
Now, as if this game needed any more content, as if it needs any more quests, you got to play a new one. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so this was probably one of the biggest surprises. Now, I know they had already announced that they were adding Netflix-inspired content and there would be a new quest to it, but I guess I just wasn't ready to hear Doug Cockle, the voice of Geralt, return, and they brought him back in to record new lines. They wrote out a quest, and the quest is actually pretty good. I don't want to spoil it because it's more Witcher content, and I feel like the people who are going to check that out are going to be very excited to see what happens. But it explores an area that is in the original game, but it was kind of underutilized. So they add a little bit of lore to that area. Once again, I'm being vague because I don't want to spoil it, but they add a bit of lore, and then I think that my favorite thing about it is that it gives context to a lot of these new Netflix-inspired items. I'll be honest, didn't care much for the Netflix show. Was a little, not bummed, but was kind of like, I don't really need Netflix-inspired gear in this game, because I think their version of The Witcher is so good that would kind of water it down, if that makes sense. I know I'm probably thinking way too much into it, but that's kind of how I felt. But after playing the quest and getting that gear, it adds so much context to it, and it makes sense in that world, which I think is great. Even if you don't really want to replay The Witcher 3 for this, I highly recommend loading up a completed game save, maybe checking out this quest, because there's some cool surprises.
Nice. I cannot wait to get my hands on this update. Also, because it's cross save, so I can just like throw my save back and forth between my PC and my PlayStation. But when does it come out again?
Comes out December 14th. The update is coming to basically every platform. However, different platforms are going to get different stuff. Like obviously ray tracing isn't going to show up in the Switch version. And I think PC, which I didn't get to test, gets some extra fine tuning when it comes to graphics, which is cool for those who have, 4080s, 3080s, whatever.
Yep. I think I remember them saying something about a Ultra Plus
Yep.
setting on the PC version. So that should be fun to see if my computer can handle it.
Yeah.
But all right. Thank you so much for speaking to me about The Witcher. I don't need to play any more of it because I haven't beaten God of War Ragnarok yet, but I'm going to be playing it on the 14th. So let us know in the comments if you're going to be jumping back into The Witcher or if it's going to be your first time. And we'll see you in the next one.